Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the global study of Maimonides. Today we've reached a very auspicious day, Erev Rosh Hashanah, day before the new year. And in order to not record, of course, and also to release these videos on Rosh Hashanah itself, I'm going to release today the Eve of Rosh Hashanah and the 2 days of Rosh Hashanah all together in one video. We'll do the same thing for Yom Kippur, so that we don't have to obviously transgress by watching these on the holy days themselves. Okay, that would be kind of like a contradiction in terms, right? But let's go straight to the material. So we're going to conclude chapter 7 with a rather glorious and somewhat slightly out of character moment for Maimonides, a fascinating last conclusion to his discussion of what is Teshuvah. And then we're going to start chapter 8, which is all about the world to come. And then we'll see something very characteristic of Maimonidean thought. It's a very rationalistic kind of vision of what the future after on the other side is. Okay, so here we go. This is Halacha 7 of chapter 7. How great is the power of Teshuvah? This is what I mean by that kind of departure from Maimonidean style. He's kind of like, you feel his personality coming out here. He's saying, oh, Kama ma'ula malas Teshuvah. Look how great Teshuvah is. Once this person was separated from the Lord, the God of Israel, as is written in Isaiah, your sins separate you from God. We're talking now about the average guy who has all kinds of difficulties in life and doesn't behave, doesn't always choose the right choices and so on. So he's separated from God. He would cry out, but would not be answered, as is written in Isaiah. Even if you multiply your prayers, I will not listen. He would perform commandments, and they would be torn up in his presence. Meaning, God's just not interested in your commandments and your performance of the commandments if you're going to do all these other things. As it is written also in Isaiah, very powerful passages. Who wishes this from your hands, trampling in my courtyard? What are you doing here? After everything else you've done, you want to come to my holy temple and beseech me here? If there were one of you to shut my doors, such that you would not light my altar needlessly. I have no desire for you, says the Lord of hosts, and I wish no offering from your hands. And then in Jeremiah, add offerings to your sacrifices and eat your meat. Meaning, just get on with what you're going to do because I'm so disgusted with you. In other words, Maimonides is bringing all these passages to refer to the person prior to going through a Teshuvah process, that God can be saying, I want to have nothing to do with you. By the way, I'm just translating here. There's a lot of depth in particularly the Hasidic tradition to say that we're understanding it incorrectly. But let's just translate Maimonides straightforward. Now, on the other side of the coin, after a person does Teshuvah, today, however, he is bound up with the divine presence, as is written in Deuteronomy, and you who cleave to the Lord your God. He cries out and is answered immediately, as it is written in Isaiah, it will be that even before you call out, I will answer. Can you imagine that? Even before you have a chance to express your desire, your needs, it's answered. He will perform commandments and they will be accepted with pleasure and joy, as it is written in Ecclesiastes, for God has already approved your acts. And you've got pre-approval, like when you get those letters in the mail. Hey, you're pre-approved for this credit card. So God is saying, I love you so much. I'm so proud of you. I know that whatever you're going to do is going to be great. Furthermore, he desired them, as is written in Malachi, the offering of Judah and Jerusalem is as sweet to God as in the days of old and the early years. Meaning what happened since then until now is irrelevant. It's just as sweet as it was before the sin. So Maimonides brings us to the end of this chapter on that high note of, just look how powerful Teshuvah is. Look how profoundly transformational it is. Okay, chapter 7.8. This is the last halacha of this chapter, yes. And he's just going to give you one last bit of advice about how to do this properly. It is the way of masters of Teshuvah to be modest and exceptionally humble. Like me. Just kidding. Okay. If foolish people insult them regarding their earlier actions, saying, oh, once you used to do this or that, once you used to say this or that, the masters of Teshuvah will not become angry. Rather, they will listen with joy, knowing that they earn great merit by doing so. For at any time that they are embarrassed and ashamed of their past deeds, their merit rises, and their personal equality is exalted. There's an interesting passage on this in the commentary, and also in Tomer Devorah, other places, that the embarrassment that one feels for doing the right thing, and yet nevertheless doing the right thing, is a huge asset. Like if someone ridicules you when you're doing the right thing, honestly the right thing, and you do the right thing nevertheless, you're not afraid of their criticism, then in fact it's a huge advantage. It is also completely sinful, by the way, if you're the other person, if you're the person criticizing, to say to a master of Teshuvah, hey, remember your earlier deeds, or to remind them in order to provoke shame, or even to allude to these things in order to embarrass them. All of this is forbidden, and people are warned. These statements are included in the Torah's prohibition of oppressive speech. As it is written in Leviticus, a person must not oppress another. Okay, that's the rather amazing 7th chapter, probably my favorite chapter of the entire book, I have to say. Now we're going to go on to chapter 8, which is all about the world to come. And we're going to have a very classic statement of Maimonidean philosophy on what happens in the afterlife. And if you're following along in the book, and then you would be on day 31 right now, right? There's the Here it is, day 31. Okay, here we go. Halacha 1. The good that is set aside for the righteous is the world to come. Olam haba in Hebrew. It is a life where there is no death, a good that has no evil. This is what is written in the Torah and Deuteronomy, in order that it benefit you and your days be long. From this we mean that in order that it benefit you is referring to a world that is entirely good, and that your days be long means a world that is infinitely long. This is the world to come. The reward of the righteous is that they merit this benefit, they enjoy this good. The punishment of the wicked is that they do not merit this life. They are rather cut off and experience death. What Maimonides is going to set up for us right here is kind of like a binary possibility, either enjoying the afterlife or not enjoying it at all. So that being cut out of that passage is one of the worst punishments. Anyone who does not merit this life simply dies, ceases to live altogether, and is cut off in his wickedness and destroyed like an animal. This is the excision that is described in the Torah, as is written, this soul shall certainly be cut off. Excision in Hebrew is the word kares, meaning literally to cut off. Now, there are other passages where Maimonides offers a slightly more complex version, but right now what we have in Hilchos Teshuvah is a yes, you're included, or no, God forbid, you're excluded. And being excluded from that life is the worst possible thing. From this we learn that one may be cut off in this world and cut off in the next world as well. A soul that separates from its body in this world will not merit the world to come. Rather, the soul will be cut off from that world as well. Kind of frightening to be excluded so sharply. In the world to come, this is Halacha 2, there is no physical existence. Rather, the souls of the righteous exist without physical form, like the ministering angels, right? This is the ultimate rationalist kind of vision of the afterlife. Since one has no body, there is no eating, nor drinking, nor any of the other physical activities that the body would need in this world. The soul does not experience the various things that affect the physical body, such as sitting or standing, sleeping or death, sadness or joy, and so on. Thus the earthly sages said, the world to come has no eating, nor drinking, nor marital relations. Rather, the righteous sit with crowns on their heads and enjoy the radiance of the divine presence. Right? This is just the philosophical contemplation of God, is Maimonides' version here. Thus it is clear to you that there is no body, since there is no eating or drinking. The phrase "the righteous sit," you might say, well, wait a second, there's no body. It says the righteous sit. What are they sitting with? Is merely a figure of speech, meaning the righteous exist there without work or effort. Just like sitting requires no work or effort, so too existing in that place. The phrase "with crowns on their heads," right? Wait a minute, no heads. Where do you put the crowns? Refers to the wisdom that they earned that allowed them to merit the life of the world to come. It becomes their crown, as Solomon said in Song of Songs, the crown that his mother placed upon him. And in Isaiah, an eternal joy will rest upon their heads. Just as joy is not a physical object that could rest upon their heads, so too the crown that the sages refer to here means knowledge. And what is the meaning of they enjoy the radiance of the divine presence? Like, how do you enjoy radiance? That involves, like, you have to have skin or something like that, or you'd be able to feel the warmth of it, something like that. What that means, according to Maimonides, they know and understand the truth of the Holy One who is blessed, a knowledge that was inaccessible when they existed in a dark and lowly physical form. Okay, the final section here, this is now day 32. We are on the second day of Rosh Hashanah. When we next speak, God willing, it'll be after Rosh Hashanah, and we'll be in the 10 days of Teshuvah proper. We will continue. Okay, anyways, here it is. Halacha 8.3, continue on his discussion of the world to come. The soul, the Hebrew term here is nefesh, used in this discussion is not the same as the soul, the word is neshama in Hebrew, that is necessary for the body. Rather, it is the part of the soul that is able to understand the Creator according to its capacity, and grasps the various separate qualities of thinking and other actions. It is the element that was described in the 4th chapter of the laws of the foundations of the Torah, Hilchos Yisodei Torah, which is also in the larger body of Maimonides' work, the Mishnah Torah, from which Hilchos Teshuvah is taken, which is called nefesh in that context. This life, now we're talking about the next world, admits of no death, as death is one of the things that affect the body, and here there is no body. Therefore, this life is called the bonds of life, as it is written in Samuel, and the soul of my master will be bound up in the bonds of life. This is what's typically written, by the way, on Jewish tombstones. There's an abbreviation that has these letters that form this verse, 1 Samuel 25:29. And the soul of my master will be bound up in the bonds of life with the Lord your God, and the soul of your enemies will be cast away. This is the reward that admits of no higher reward, the good for which there can be no greater good. It is the thing most desired by the prophets. Halacha 4. There are many terms used to describe this by way of an analogy. The mountain of God, God's holy place, the holy path, the courtyards of God, the tent of God, the pleasant place of God, the sanctuary of God, the house of God, the gate of God. These are all cited by verse in the text here. The sages use the term banquet to describe the good that is reserved for the righteous, and it is otherwise known as the world to come. Now, on the other side of the coin, we'll just conclude with this here. This is the 5th halacha of the 8th chapter. The other side of the coin is, we're going to start talking now about what happens if a person does not merit that world. We started in the first halacha, but we're going to continue a little bit here. The reckoning, for which there is no more serious reckoning, is that the soul be cut off and not merit to share in this world to come. As it is written in Numbers, this soul shall certainly be cut off, it bears its sin. This is the utter destruction that the prophets describe by analogy as the pit of destruction, Be'er Shachas, obliterated, place of fire, and even leech, aluka, strange term, and other terms denoting annihilation and destruction. Since this is an annihilation for which there is no revival, a loss that can never be compensated. Okay, thank you very much for learning. It's kind of a sobering thought, but appropriate, I think, to go into Rosh Hashanah with. The appropriate greeting at this point is Ksiva v'chasima tova, meaning you should be written and sealed for good. Thank you very much for listening.